Joining us for more is Irene Tunkel, who's from BCA Research. Irene, thanks for joining us. Look, we have a very big week in terms of earnings coming through in the United States. What are the early indications, the early signals coming from earnings season there?
Well, I would say so far, so good. Still very early days. Most of the companies that have reported are the banks, the large banks, and the large banks have surprised on the upside. They basically had a fairly rosy outlook. They say, well, maybe we're already in a soft landing. Consumer is just fine. So this is more or less what we know so far. Okay. This week we will hear from about 20% of other companies in the S&P 500, and also the earnings of some of the Magnificent Seven are coming up, shortly.
Okay, so Irene, what is it that we want to learn from these earnings reports in the first instance?
Great question. We get lots of data, Lorie, and what do we really get out of it? I think that there are a few quick key questions. First of all, what is the state of the US economy? The data recently has been quite mixed. There were lots of revisions. So I think that the best way to learn what's happening is to hear, keep the ear to the ground and hear what companies are saying. Second question I would have, consumers. Again, seems like there is quite a bit of bifurcation within the whole big consumer segment within the United States. It seems like lower income and middle class consumers are under pressure. Wealthier people are still powering the rally. Would be interesting to know what is really going on. Listening to consumer discretionary companies, listening to consumer staples companies. Generative AI is always on the agenda. We know that companies are investing a lot of money into, NVIDIA chips and generally GI chips. Are they gaining any return on investments? We have been tracking this theme for a while. It's interesting to see whether there are more companies that will report that, well, actually, we're now making money. So this monetization of generative AI will be quite big. And the last question I would say is that global growth is currently slowing. Does it have any effect on the US multinationals? So these are the key themes that we are watching. But generally, we just need to see that earnings are broadening. And if we do see that earnings are broadening, companies are growing, I think that people will have much more confidence in the rally. And it also gives us the message that perhaps we are not going into an imminent recession and things are kind of chugging along.
Okay, Irene, and when it comes to, excuse me, the big tech companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, Apple, will there potentially be disappointment if we don't get evidence that the investments into AI are paying off?
Well, I think it's quite possible because that was the reaction over the past 2 quarters. I think it's we're going to look at what are the investment plans, but at the same time, are they making any money? And if they are to disappoint, or if they will, tell investors that they're putting even more money into generative AI without seeing any results, I think that market is a self-regulating mechanism. There will be a pushback. Their stock prices can fall. So it really depends on what they're telling us. So I don't think it's as straightforward as, just beating expectations in terms of numbers. But the narrative, I think, will be quite important as well.